European Peace Project. Today, the 9th of May 2026, more than 80 years after the end of the Second World War in Europe, which claimed the lives of 60 million people, including 27 million Soviet citizens, we, the citizens of Europe, raise our voices again. We note with concern that since our declaration last year, most European governments and the EU still do not want to pursue diplomacy with Russia to end NATO's proxy war in Ukraine. We are appalled that a war that has long been decided militarily and has already cost the lives of too many people on both sides of the front line is being prolonged in an irrational, if not insane, attempt to ruin Russia or to buy time for the current poker game for the redivision of the world. We mourn the growing number of soldiers' graves in the senseless war in Ukraine, which is tearing Europe apart today, and we remind everyone loudly, Europe must stand up for never again war. We have watched with disbelief as the EU, which always prides itself on its rule of law, has seriously considered confiscating Russian assets in Europe in violation of international law. We are alarmed that the EU is now depriving innocent citizens, critical authors and journalists of their civil rights, placing them on extra-legal, arbitrary sanctions lists, and thus damaging the rule of law and freedom of expression in Europe in an intolerable manner. We are aghast that the German government, of all governments, is so utterly oblivious to history as to boast in its new military strategy of its intention to build the strongest army in Europe, a plan that entails transforming the German economy into a war economy. We continue to declare swords into plowshares rather than cars and streetcars into tanks and missiles. We also firmly reject the notion that Great Britain, Germany, Italy, Poland, and others are being utilized as arms production hubs for Ukraine, and that our tax revenues are being funneled into the coffers of the arms industry. We seek European emancipation from the USA, not as a military power, but as a force for peace. We must put an end to the subversions of the EU and European governments to the US, which tramples on international law in Venezuela and Iran and mocks Europe. The so-called Western world order has been shattered by its own double standards. We need a neutral Europe, which formulates its own interests and assumes a mediating role in a multipolar world. Together with the BRICS countries, Europe must strengthen international law and the UN Charter and build a bridge between East and West. We, the citizens of Europe, are therefore taking our destiny and our history into our own hands. Together with the Portuguese friends, we have launched a European Citizens Conference for Peace. We advocate a new European security architecture with Russia. We extend our hands to the citizens of Ukraine and Russia. You belong to the European family. We, the citizens of Europe, hereby declare we are not at war neither with Russia or with anyone else. We will not participate in the increasingly absurd war games, and our numbers are growing every day. We will not turn our men and sons into soldiers, our daughters into nurses in military hospitals, or our countries into battlefields. We will not stand by and watch our future and that of our children being sacrificed on the altar of power politics and our beautiful Europe destroying itself. Long live Europe, long live peace, long live freedom. And because of the current situation, we have written a supplement to address the situation in Iran. As citizens of Europe, we are also speaking out on this 9th of May 2026 regarding the illegal war of aggression waged by Israel and the USA against Iran, which quickly escalated into a conflagration in the Middle East. We are appalled by the arbitrary way in which the USA and Israel now launch wars, without cause, without any acute threat or justification, as the Pentagon itself has admitted, and in the midst of negotiations. International law is being trampled underfoot, especially by the country that boasts of being the only democracy in the Middle East. This was already the case in Gaza, and now this horror is being extended to the entire Middle East. We are equally appalled by the hypocrisy and the indescribable double standards of the Western press, which every injustice committed by Israel or the USA is apparently sacrosanct and beyond criticism, as if Israel and the USA were above international law. German Chancellor Merz openly states that international law does not apply to Iran. Exiled Iranians, who are de facto the Savak junta of the former Shah, are dragged before the cameras as Iranian freedom fighters, and one has to watch foreign channels to learn that the issue in Iran are only superficially about democracy or women's rights, but that Reza Pahlavi has held out to the US the prospect of $1 trillion if they install him as ruler of Iran. How pathetic to draw a veil of silence over this in Europe. We, the citizens of Europe, lament the almost total ideologization of Western media outlets, especially in Germany. As citizens of Europe, we extend our hand to all those in Iran, in the Arab world, and in the Gulf region who are now being killed, injured, or otherwise ravaged by war and destruction. And we call out to them all. We are working towards a different Europe, a Europe that overcomes its self-righteousness, for a Europe that overcomes the NATO military alliance and puts a stop to national Zionist aspirations for a greater Israel. To a Europe that is once again worthy of singing the European anthem from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, all men become brothers,